Is my twin brother back there? Huh? Thank you. Thank you. It's a good way to open up. Thank you all for being here, and if you're a little upset because we're so crowded, we should be damn proud that we have this many people. So we're honored to have as our special guest a 47-year veteran, journalist, and the dean, really, of journalists in Ohio. A gentleman who has, in my view, been very objective and practical about those of us who've been involved in public life. In fact, to make sure that you understand that Mr. Larkin is here as a reporter, not as an advocate. The rest of us in the room are. But Mr. Larkin is here as a reporter with a great deal of history and respect for the First Amendment and obviously freedom of the press. To give you an idea how awkward this is and how objective he is, in an editorial once he told me to shut my mouth. So he's been somebody that has been, in my view, willing to take on anyone in political life, in public life, as an elected official, which is his responsibility in our collective name, to hold people accountable in public life. Most of you don't know this, and he looks a lot younger than I do, but Brent Larkin started the newspaper business with the 37th President of the United States. Some of you might remember Richard Nixon in this room. And so that broad perspective in those years of covering local, state, and national politics gives him a perspective that I think is so important for us in these times. Let me again underscore and separate the responsibilities of a free press and the responsibilities of us in this room who are advocates for a cause. Two different worlds that we live in. But I'm honored to have Brent here, and I'm honored to make sure that we make a distinction. He's not here as an advocate. He's here as somebody that covers all of us in public life. I think, however, do we have the column? We have the column in the back for those who are interested. I think, and I hope that many of you have read his columns. And I hope that all of you, have been challenged by what Brent has been writing and observing over the last number of years. And with that, I'll open up the conversation by simply saying to Brent, maybe give us a little perspective about observing over these 40-some years the political process and how you've tried to balance an objective observation about all of us, including the national political world today. Right?
I can't start there. As I look over this room, I can't help but think that if you had drawn these type of crowds when you ran for governor. My weak attempt. No, that's not
Yeah, I'll bail him out.
All I said is that if he had drawn these type of crowds when he ran for governor, the result might be a little bit different. How many people were here in 1977? If this was a room filled with millennials, I wasn't going to start with this. There is a little bit of precedent in Cleveland for what is happening today, and what's happening today is far worse in my mind. But remember, we elected a mayor in 1977 who immediately went to war with the media. That he was doing a news conference, an interview on WERE, and his top aide, is kind of like his Steve Bannon, went over and he pulled the plug on the interview. And every day in this town in 1977 there was a war, and every day there was a controversy, and every day somebody was being insulted. And Dennis was the mayor at the time, obviously, and he's far different today, and I mean that sincerely. He's not the same way that he was 40 years ago. But eventually he wore the town out, and the town had a municipal version of a nervous breakdown. And that's what's happening today, and I think it's kind of inevitable that on a much grander scale, that eventually he's going to wear the country out, or the planet out, and you can't do this on a daily basis. Tim wants me to talk about news a little bit, and before the Trump administration, we talk about fake news, but before the Trump administration and their unparalleled version of fake news, there was The Onion. There still is The Onion. And I was reading in the New Yorker yesterday, in 2013, the New Yorker The Onion had a huge headline story, and everything is farcical on The Onion, and it was by Donald J. Trump was the author of the story, and the headline was, this was at the height of the birther stuff, when he was telling these vile lies about the president. And the headline was, every time you're feeling low, remember, in 15 to 20 years, I'll be dead, by Donald J. Trump. and now The Onion, and they sued, and his lawyer sued, and it didn't go anywhere. But the war on the press, it seems to me, has already been decided. You have circulation at the New York Times and the Washington Post is soaring. Circulation. Saturday Night Live, you have CNN, MSNBC. I'm long gone by 11:30, but Colbert has passed Fallon in the ratings for one reason. So the verdict is in on the war, his war against the media. He's not going to win that. And Vanity Fair, which is a publication that's owned by the parent company, the Plain Dealer, 80,000 new subscriptions. This is in an era when newspapers and magazines are dying. I mean, they are dying. Ink on paper is not going to be around much longer. So it's kind of unprecedented what's happening, and that's why I frankly worry a little bit more about other amendments to the Constitution being at risk than I do about the Second Amendment. And you worry about the Fourth, Fifth, and Sixth Amendments, which he probably, I would bet $1,000 he can't tell you what they're about, I worry more about those than I do about the First Amendment. Look, he's going to play these games, and he can have the Secretary of State not allow anybody to fly around the world with him. And, it makes you shake your head like Tim just did, but he's going to lose that fight. And, I feel fairly confident about that.
Let me also indicate to all of you that I want to include you in the questioning. So if you have a question at any time when we're having our conversation, you're certainly welcome to ask the question. One of the things that I'm sure that all of us sit here, we were having a little conversation earlier today, is that, as Brent has indicated, this is an unprecedented time in our lives. Many of us who are very partisan, and I plead very liberal, partisan, democratic politics, we had to live through Nixon and Reagan and Bush, at least the second Bush, And I disagreed fundamentally. In fact, the owner of this, Andy, where's Andy? Is he around? We thanked him, and I want to thank him again. Andy was a great Republican and a friend. And we were talking about this, and I think it's important for all of us to understand this. Honorable people, thank you. Honorable people in the political world can disagree without being disagreeable. Andy was a part of the political world, the Republican world in Hagan County, in the state, when you could argue and disagree. Larkin had to bring up my run against Taft. But honorable people had a difference of opinion about what direction the state should go in, or the community, or the country. And then we all kind of accepted the reality, all right, we got 4 years of whoever got elected, and we look forward to the next election and argued our point. This is so fundamentally different for all of us. And that's why I thought it was so important to ask Brent to be here, because we need to see this in the perspective of what is really happening. And this whole question about a president who brings into public office in DC people who are absolutely unqualified to serve in those positions. You could have had an argument with some of the people that served with Bush, but no one questioned Colin Powell, did we? He was an honorable guy, he served his country, and might have differences of opinion, or even Condoleezza Rice. How many of us, well, she's Secretary of State, she seemed to be responsible and reasonable. I think what I'm trying to underscore, and maybe Brent can make a comment about this, is, as he alluded to with respect to the Secretary of State, these offices and these people that have been appointed by Bush, they're not qualified, and I can say this with some humility, they're not qualified to be a county commissioner in Hagan County. Honestly, I have to tell you, it is absolutely shocking. So Brent, maybe make a comment about some of these appointments and what that policy means, because I know, and by the way, I want to invite you all Tuesday, Brent's speaking at another event on the impact of state government on the local governments, and you're at the Parma, what is it? Snow Road Library. So you're all invited, and if you'd like to go, because that philosophy is going to have a big impact on our local governments as well from the state. So it's trickling down or trickling on all of us. Brent, maybe make it.
Okay, so the county executive is here, right there. There's a. So it kind of goes without saying that if Tim had asked you to be here tonight, if Jeb Bush or Mitt Romney were president, there would have been about 6 people, and because no one would have come down here on a lousy night like this, because the future of the country would not have been at risk.
The thing that concerns me more than anything is that we have, about the amendments, are that Eastern Watergate, that's not going to do this, that I was so confident that it would come out of the wash, it would be okay. I don't do this. I don't feel like there's anyone there to defend our rights or wants to.
The question is, when the woman who was asking the question was 12 years old, during Watergate, we felt a confidence level that all would turn out all right. Well, I think we all felt a confidence level because we had Republicans in the Senate and in the House who spoke out as responsible members of an equal state of government. We have Congress is equal to the president. And one of the things that you're raising here, and I think some of us, how many of you are on Facebook? And some of you are my friends on Facebook, I assume. I think that there's been an expression from people on Facebook that there was a deep concern about where are the Republican voices with respect to this outrage? Why aren't they standing up and speaking out? Well, I think we got some comfort this week. Because finally, stating the obvious, for God's sakes, the guy, you know, Obama wiretapped Trump. And my lawyer friends that are sitting here know damn well, and everyone else in the room knows, the President of the United States can't wiretap any of us in this room. You have to go to a court. You have to go to a court. Now, here's the thing that's most disturbing about all this, in my observation about it, is I don't think he even knows that. And worse than that, after, underscore your point, Republican leadership, even the Speaker of the House, who is a weak-kneed person in my view, finally stood up and said publicly that no, it didn't happen. And so did the leaders of in the House and the Senate and the Intelligence Committee. Now, I don't know what more you need to say except the President of the United States yesterday just dismissed it all as not true. Well, I've said this and I will say it publicly. If anybody applied for a job in this room, in any capacity, in a professional capacity, and was clear to see, and it was clear that that person was unfit for the job, they wouldn't hold the damn job. They would lose that job or wouldn't be accepted. We have a President of the United States that is unfit to be President of the United States. That's what we're confronted with.
I'm going to make one more comment, and then if anybody has any questions for me, and if you don't, believe me, that's fine. And then I'm going to kind of slide out of here because a couple things. I do not represent the plain dealer anymore. I am not an employee of the plain dealer. I understand a lot of people, but I have not been an employee of the plain dealer for 8 years. I'm just here, and I'm just a columnist, and I work for. But I want to go back to the newspapers in Trump for a minute. The two papers that have prospered the most are the New York Times and the Washington Post is enjoying this renaissance that is almost, no one could have foreseen it under Jeff Bezos, the guy who owns and founder of Amazon.com, who is worth $50–60 billion, and he's poured money into it, and it's starting to become what it was in the 1970s, and it's a great thing. It's a great thing to see. On the other hand, you have, and this is factual, it could be interpreted as partisan. The Wall Street Journal is facing a rebellion within its own newsroom over what people in the newsroom see as a failure on management to demand that they cover the Trump administration accurately. That's a fact. There have been meetings in the newsroom with angry people who work there, and so you're seeing this. And newspapers, big regional news operations like Cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer are in a tough spot on this, and regional newspapers everywhere are suffering the most. And because they don't have the resources to cover the White House, and so it makes them really hard. It makes it really hard for them to do what the Times and the Post are doing because they just don't. They can't afford it. So, anyone has any other questions?
What's stopping them from on the Washington Post? You said that there's a fight among management.
At the Wall Street Journal.
The Wall Street Journal. What's stopping them from covering it the way they want to? I don't understand.
Well, I mean, some would tell you that Rupert Murdoch owns the Wall Street Journal. It's a publicly owned company, he owns Fox News, and he had this $300 million, I think it was $300 million ugly divorce that Ivanka Trump is the chairman, or she is in charge of making sure that the ex-wife gets, it's not an incestuous relationship, but it's a unique relationship with the president's daughter. And he owns Fox News, so he comes at this with a certain perspective, and there have been problems in the newsroom because of that. Does that kind of answer it? Yes.
Well, there's been a lot of blame placed on just regular network media for covering his, in toto, all of his campaign rallies and all of that they helped elect him, instead of reporting on it accurately. How can the media now address this presidency and address the truth without making his followers more entrenched, the ones that actually believe?
I don't know that they can, because his followers they don't buy it. When he said in Iowa, it was about 13 months ago, when he said, I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and get away with it, he was not a major it was just a tiny exaggeration. And when I write about the president, or before he was, oh my gosh, the hatred that shows up on Cleveland.com, it's unprecedented. It is unprecedented, and I get these ugly personal emails where the grammar and the spelling mistakes are. It's true.
Here's my major concern. I've known Tim for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I also am very partisan.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that our party has failed. My party has failed the country. I was in New York recently, and there was a media group 429 that was doing a panel discussion, and they were talking about the flyover states. I'm like, well, I'm one of those flyover states. And how do we motivate people? And everybody's talking about getting people out for the midterms.
He's going to talk about that as soon as I leave the
here's
stage.
Here's my point, is that they can't figure out why we did not come out and vote. Well, I said, these women in Flint, Michigan cannot wash their babies. What in God's name makes you think that they would leave their home to vote for you people? They leave their home to find clean water to wash their babies. If the president had gotten out of the White House, gotten a trench with the Army Corps of Engineers, put his mom jeans on, and dug some trenches for 6 hours, the outcome of this would have been far different. But our own party is responsible for that failure. It's not the 30%, 35% of the people that are horrible racist Nazis that you people didn't cover for the 7 years that he basically demeaned the President of the United States. It's our own politicians. When I'm seeing, oh, we've got to do something. Well, our own party is doing business as usual. Hillary Clinton went in front of Nancy Reagan's withered corpse and praised her for her work on HIV and AIDS, while they ignored hundreds of my friends dying for 6, 7 years. You can't do that and think these people are going to come out and vote for you anymore.
Okay, he's going to get to you. Anything before I escape? Yes, ma'am.
What are your thoughts on the Russian interference in the election? Is there anything you can share?
Well, this is just his 9 nickels worth. But for Vladimir Putin and James Comey, he would not have won. But there's also a lot of truth in there's some truth in what this young man over here was saying about this was a very, the one Democrat who probably couldn't beat him is the one that they nominated in Philadelphia, and that's okay. Yes.
So the polls, the polls got it so wrong.
Yes, they got it wrong. They got it wrong in 2004 also, remember? Yeah.
So why we continue to allow polls to drive the political process? Why should we continue to trust them?
Well, because it's a science and it's wrong a lot. It's right a lot more often than it's wrong. And there was this hidden vote, people that it could be. I'm not justifying the polls, but I'm saying there is a reason for it. People didn't want to tell you that they were going to vote for a guy who was on tape saying these things about females that were just beyond the pale. But there were some people who saw it coming, but the polls are right a lot more often than they're wrong. But yes, ma'am.
On Facebook, and you keep hearing about impeachment.
I know.
Nothing. What does this man have to do to get impeached?
That's number 2 he's going to deal with. Michael?
So what's the future of local journalism? You're now relatively up in age, and yet you are the lead.
140 years.
You're the lead column on Sunday. Henry Gomez is now going to be with BuzzFeed.
Yes.
So who's going to do what you do in 10 years?
That's a really good, Michael, that's a great question, and it would just be speculative. All the labor contracts at the Plain Dealer, not Cleveland.com, are up in 2019, and who knows what the owners will do. Michael was talking about Henry Gomez, who's a really good politics writer for Cleveland.com, and he's resigned. He's going to BuzzFeed, which is establishing a national presence, and it's tough. Regional news operations, to repeat myself, are in the toughest spot, and I say that, especially regional news operations in markets that aren't growing. That makes it, we are older, we are not especially wealthy, and we are not growing. The county's population is shrinking slowly. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Yes, the lady across the room was talking about what's it going to take to have an impeachment.
Okay, got it.
Mine is somewhat related to that. I personally do not believe that an impeachment is in order. I think they should invoke the 25th Amendment, Section 4. I think he is showing, like Tim said, incredible, unbelievable unfitness for office, and he doubles down on it every single time he shows his face in front of the cameras.
Amen. Okay, thank you very much.
Wait.
I want to know what you think about all of the unnamed sources and the different, in terms of journalism, in the White House there's been always unnamed sources or sources
Always.
inside the White House.
These are the best reporters in the country doing
Right.
this. Are they right 100%? No.
Right,
I
but
mean-
the White House isn't even right, so how are their representatives inside the
They're
White House?
they're right 1,000 times more than the people they cover are. John? Yes.
I like you, you're a journalist and a lawyer. I think a very important issue that may be overlooked. The media can fight back. The federal judiciary cannot. And he is, in my opinion, intentionally attacking the federal judiciary so that his followers can lose faith in it, and that becomes a very serious problem.
Boy, that.
I want to find out,
You can't argue with that.
sir, the thing is that it's easy for us to say all these things, but can you tell us what can happen with the Trump supporters there are clearly people that don't care about the leaks, they don't care about Russia, they don't care about these things. They're out there, they're seeing the economy getting better, and they think it's all wonderful. How is the media going to cover that and make us understand it?
Well, I think the media is. I don't. Look, you can. Boy, I'm not on their payroll. You can buy the Washington Post for $39 a year. A year. And and the Plain Dealer and Cleveland.com, and they carry a lot of that stuff. But
I want to say one thing that the newspapers can do. I've been a public health nurse for almost 40 years. They're talking about defunding WIC, defunding Meals on Wheels, defunding all sorts of things. Write in-depth stories on the front page. There are plenty of research that has been done that, like WIC is one of the most positive programs with one of the most positive. How many people know that? You know,
Call Elizabeth Sullivan.
you had,
Listen, I'm gonna call Elizabeth Sullivan at cleveland.com on Monday, 999-5000. Yes, one more question, ma'am. I'm gonna let Tim.
We have heard all about fake news.
And I spoke, the onion,
Now,
yes.
how do you, as a responsible, conscientious journalist, keep an even keel? Because we don't hear that. We hear only the partisan issues. How do you keep the even keel that we depend upon for the truth?
It's really difficult for those people who are engaging with these people every day. Because there's never been anything like this in the history of this country. And so I'm not objective anymore because I only get paid to write a column, which should be accurate, but it doesn't have to be objective, as you know. So, but it's tough. I mean, we are in uncharted waters journalistically at the White House. So there's no textbook on how to handle it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Brent. I want to underscore again the fact that Brent will be Tuesday speaking about the state government and the impact on local government as well. I want to continue the questions. I want to go back to my dear friend over here who raised the question, Gil raised the question about the last election. We can argue about this last election, all of us. Some of us were with Sanders in the primary and supported Clinton in the fall. But what the hell does that have to do now? We're faced with a real crisis. And we can all argue about that, Gil, and I'm with you. I understand they were not sensitive. They didn't speak to these kind of issues. They thought that if they just appealed to the general sense of that they had it wrapped up and they were going to win. And as Jimmy just pointed out, the polls indicated that as well. And they were thinking there wasn't going to be a problem.
But Tim, they're still not talking to it. When I see tens of millions of dollars being directed towards Dan Gilbert, a billionaire, when I see such poverty, such deplorable conditions in our city, and I read, when I want to make material something, I get online and I research it. And I research, and every article, credible article that I read says, these venues do not really return value for dollar to our city the way other investments could. Okay? I'm glad that we have tried to rebuild the city, but I'll tell you what, the money that we have poured into that, had we poured in a fraction of that into our neighborhoods, we would have gotten our people out to vote. We are not changing what we do. If they do the cuts that they want to do to Health and Human Services, I will be dead in 2018. I will not be voting for a Democrat to come into office. There are a lot of people that will fall off of Medicaid, that will die. It's not that we need to relitigate what we did, but we have to change going forward, or you are never going to get those people out of their homes to vote for us the way they used to.
Gil, here's a perfect example. You and I have shared a basic.
Yeah.
I was, in large part, a responsible person for Gateway. Now let me give you my observation about that. Do the people in this room know that 70% of the tax dollars raised in downtown pays for the school system of the city of Cleveland? And do you all know that at the time that was going through, the tax values of the buildings in downtown Cleveland were collapsing? And do you also know that the county government and local government had no ability, tax like Tim, most of you know that, had no ability to generate revenues for those specific, because of state government. We only had the ability to impose a tax on cigarettes and booze. One of the arguments I had was, you know, if you're imposing the tax on cigarettes and booze, it may cause better health in the community as well. Now those were the arguments, and there are clearly arguments against it. But in addition to that, so you understand how difficult it is to answer these kinds of questions in the political world, because I can argue against my point any day of the week, but here's the difficulty. Those sports arenas, whether you guys like sports or not, whether everybody in the room gives a damn about baseball or football or basketball, they bring people to downtown Cleveland, and more importantly, those people with money, corporate money, invest in the community. Now, here's the difficulty. I remember once going to the Plain Dealer, I think Larkin was over there at that time, and they were all saying to me, Hagan, you're raising money from wealthy people for the Health and Human Services levy. And looked at it, well, who the hell do you think I'm gonna raise it from? The poor? That's the position you're in. If you're gonna do these things, you gotta stand up and say to people, look, we ran levies. By the way, I can bet in this room, I can bet it, 90% of the people in this room voted for every Health and Human Services levy that we put on the ballot. 90% of the people in this room voted for developmental disabilities. And why do we do that? And why did I not say to myself, well, you know, I don't want to be known as tax like Tim? Because I know people like this. I live with people. I grew up with people. People are decent and good people. They're not getting up every morning saying, I got mine, screw everybody else. They have family members. They have family members who are gay. They have family members who are hungry and sick and poor and struggling. That's who we are. That's who we are as a people. I had no fear of standing up before groups and talking about those issues, because I really believe that in the way we have come together as a people, that those people that tear us apart, they're not us. They're not who we are. Look at this room. Look at the fact that you call a meeting and 250 people show up to express themselves and to be concerned about what the hell direction this country's going in. Now, what I'd like to do today, as Gil articulated to you and others about, Tim, I'm depressed, what the hell are we going to do? You know, this is wearing me down. Every day is a news day. Let's all quit feeling sorry for ourselves here. Let's all commit ourselves to doing something. Now, the first thing we need to do is face the reality that people didn't go out and vote. In the last election, 19.8% of the people in the country voted for Clinton. 19.5% voted for,
Don't say.
I don't even like to say his name, 28 to 45, or I have a better name for it. 28% were ineligible voters, and 29.9 or 30% didn't vote. Now, you all want to do something? How many go to Starbucks here? Put your hands up. Okay, here's the deal. Here's the deal. Instead of ordering a grande latte or whatever the hell you order a tall. Save $1 and start saying to yourself, it's nice to come to meetings, but we need to put money and time and effort in this. This is not a game. This is not, oh, don't we all feel good now? We got therapy session here. No, this is serious. So here's what I want this group to think about. You don't have to answer today. We'll have another meeting. But I want you to think about a political action committee. And I want you to start thinking about this. $1 a day, $1 a day, 360 bucks or so, 365. We got 3 years. We got 2 years till 2018. And if we got to put up with this, we can't give up. We can't just say to ourselves, oh, you know, it'll be all right in 6 months. No, it's not. So you have to say to yourself, all right, I'm prepared to take my time and my effort and make the sacrifice and say to myself, so I need to get a consensus here if we want to continue. By the way, some of you here belong to Move On. Put your hands up, some of the people who belong to Move On. There are other organizations. We don't have to have, we can split up, go to other organizations if that's what you wish. I got the impression that many of you feel comfortable coming and being involved in this. So I'm willing to continue to do this as long as everybody wants to do it. But I'm not going to do it for therapy. I'm not going to do this for therapy. I need all of you to say, all right, Tim, if you want to do a political action committee, fine, I'm in. Count me in on it. How many people are in favor of a political action committee? All right, put your hands down. All right, I'm going to organize that. How many people go to our page or on Facebook? How many people know about that? All the rest you got to start thinking, and some of my friends, I put it on my page as well. We need to have some volunteers here to help organize our communications. And specifically, I want to give you a real challenge today. I just told you what needs to be done. Here's something simple. Get a postcard. There's some in the back, or get your own damn postcard. And send a postcard to somebody who's not registered to vote, who's a member of your family or a friend. And say to them specifically, please, do this for me if you're not going to do it for yourself. One of the things that I think we could all do, if we raise enough money, have those billboards up. Yes. Vote as if your life depended upon it, because it does. That's what we need to do. We need to send a message. Now, we can all argue about everything else and get involved in this. And people who want to be involved in the Sherrod Brown race, please get involved in that race. We've got to win that race in 2018. If you want to get involved in the local races, please get involved in those races. By the way, if you want to run for office, please run for office. Now, let me make a point. Somebody made the point about looking at this group, except for my friend Kathy, Kate in the back, and a few others. There are very few millennials in this group. Thank you for my 71st happy birthday, but here's the problem. That's the problem. All right? And let me be very candid about this. The other problem is our brothers and sisters in the black community. We have an obligation to reach out.
Thank you, Tim.
There is an isolation here. Let's don't kid ourselves.
Thank you.
The next event I'm going to have on the east side somewhere.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right? I want people to understand we're going to stand together. And let me underscore this point here. Tomorrow, are you familiar with the Muslim community on the east side?
Masjid Bilal. Masjid Bilal.
Yes.
74th.
Tomorrow,
Carnegie.
they're having an event.
That's correct.
Yep.
And I want those who are able to go stand with our Muslim brothers and sisters and make a damn statement that people who want to believe in their God in this country can believe in their God or not believe in a God, and we're going to stand with them on that. It's important for us to stand up on all of these issues. It's important for us to say to each other, hey, people give me the right to be who I am, to believe in a God or not to believe in a God. You all give us that right in this country, and we need to protect that for other people as well. That's who we are. Yes, you can make a comment.
Could you just please tell us all where that's taking place?
The address, over there, do we have an address for that event?
It's at 74th and Carnegie.
And what time?
It's at 3:30 p.m.
3:30.
I'm the-
What hall, what
It's
place?
at the hall is called Masjid
All
Bilal.
right. I had the pleasure of being there.
Yes, you did. And I do too. 3:30.
Thanks. Anyhow, these are the kind of things that you can do to make yourself feel like you're doing something by standing with people. That's important. It's important, by the way, I don't want to dismiss going to these offices and making sure you're being heard at these congressional offices as well when there's a statement. And let me finally make a couple of observations about this healthcare question. My friend who's sitting in front of me who wouldn't want to be mentioned made a very simple point the other day in the discussion. When somebody asked, well, how do we reach these Trump supporters? That's right. It's very difficult to reach some of them. You can't. But you can reach those on some issues. And one of the issues is health care. And if you tell somebody they're making $30,000 a year, and they're going to pay $14,000 for health care, and you put down $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 on the way up, and you show people that, and we use that. Some people who are reflective will say to themselves, yeah, what? Because any other issue, sadly, on gays, on race, on Muslims, they're blind. They're blind. Do you have a comment?
I really have to say something. I'm the parent of adult children. I have millennials. I have kids who are so disenfranchised, who don't understand that political parties are private, nonprofit corporations that can't talk to somebody and find out what the Democratic Party is doing on the local level, on the state level, or on the national level. We need the party to get out and reach out to people. We need them to be on college campuses. We need them to talk to kids. We need them to connect with people who live in the neighborhoods, who actually do get out and vote, who will drive their elderly neighbor to the polls, who will, get out there and be representatives of the party. It's the party. The party has to come out and generate loyalty and generate activity and be a presence. I don't know who David Pepper is. I mean, I know who David Pepper is, but I didn't support David Pepper. I don't know how he ended up head of the state party. I mean, nobody knows. I say, what do you think of David Pepper?
I don't disagree with, you know what? You are the party.
I know I am the party, but I can't do it alone. And
You're making a point. I've tried to say this, run for office, but more importantly, get engaged in the political process now in 2017 in the local races so you get ready for the 2018 and beyond. Listen, some people here, they like to make comments and, if you run for office, they get up and beat the hell out of you and they don't do anything. You look at them and say to yourself, what am I even listening to this person for? I mean, get involved. I used to say that to people. Look, you have every right in the world to object to my positions on Gateway or wherever else. Go out and vote. I mean, get engaged in the political process. Now, you can't just sit here and say, I watched Rachel Maddow last night and she made me feel. You got to get engaged in the political process, and it's not easy, and it can be painful.
I need to make one more point. It needs to come from the top down. We need to be in high schools. We need to be in colleges. We need to be in the corner supermarkets. We need to talk to people, but it needs to come from the top down. We need to be able to engage people from the party. The party has to explain who they are, what they're doing, why they're doing it. I mean, I know my county party. I don't live in Cuyahoga, but in a big county, people don't know. They're not engaged with anybody who's actually engaged.
Well, I miss my time as county chairman, which was a long time ago. There used to be a party, and there used to be ward clubs, and there's a comment here. Go ahead.
Ma'am, with all due respect, doesn't have to come from the top down. It has to come from the bottom up. People in this room need to contact the Cuyahoga County Democratic Party that's headed by Stu Garson. I would imagine, could I finish? I respected you, okay? In every area of the city, in every ward in the city of Cleveland, there's a Democratic Party. Okay? There's not enough money within the party unless more of us get involved to send out literature, etc. The party during the last election was begging people to get involved, and they didn't. So was Hillary's campaign, and people did not. We need to do it and push the leaders up.
But you gotta get the youth. You gotta get the youth.
Excuse me. I need your first and last name and the city you live in.
My name's Linda Green, and I work for the county in a position where we are told that we are not allowed to be political in any way. And first of all, I wonder if that's even constitutional. And secondly, it's very dismaying because so many of our clients are affected directly by this nightmare, whether you're talking about Medicaid expansion, whether you're talking about getting rid of the HEAP program or any of these other programs. And I just want to know how I can research if that indeed is valid, if maybe the ACLU will look at that. I understand where it came from because of the corruption, but forcing people to give campaign money to someone is a different issue than telling me I cannot work for Democratic candidates. And
Well, let me tell you my observation.
Yes.
It's unconstitutional to tell you what you can or can't do off the payroll. However, in fairness, if you work for a government, the county government, you can't advocate for a candidate. That makes sense because you then engage in the political process during the day. Believe me, I knew the old ways. You know, I'm some of us who shared Carol's back there too that wanted to make a message, comment, who's worked together at the county. There were times, it was a shakedown at times. And I hope that I helped stop that, but there clearly was 2% clubs and you were, if you worked there, you were forced to give. Believe me, it wasn't the best of times. And that slowly changed over the years. And you had other elected officials and all the rest. I don't want to go through all that. Except I want to make the point to you that John has made and others have made. You got to be engaged in this political process, and you got to go to your work club, or and this whole idea of registration, the point was made. Here's what I would suggest you do. Who has kids, grandkids in high school? Put your hands up. You got to go to those high schools and get those kids registered when they're 18. If they're 18 before October of this year, they can vote in this 2017 election. Or if they're 18 in 2018 before October, or in 2020. God, if we have to go through this till 2020. But in any event, you got to get people to register to vote. If you want to do something, go up to the school and say, we want to organize, in the back is a registration form. We were lucky enough that somebody's put together, you can now register online. You can register online. There's information, there's a simple way to do it. You'll see it in the back. I've got 250 pages. Where's Jerry? Jerome? Thank you.
I don't know where they are.
They're in the back. Thank you. And Carol.
Can I just say, as the saying goes, all politics is local. Right. And we've been missing the vote there. We need to start at the school board, because I don't know how many of you know, civics is no longer being taught in our curriculums in junior high and high school. So we have the dumbing down of America, and that's why all those people, I want to say plurals, but I don't want to say plural. They're ignorant. They didn't know what they were voting for. They were voting for this illusion. And now they've got it, and reality is about to set in. We need to either start teaching our kids on Saturday or in whatever groups and clubs we're in about the government and how there are 3 branches of government: locally, statewide, countywide, nationwide. And they don't know what their responsibilities are and who's in charge and who trumps, and I hate to use that word, but who has authority over whom. We need to, because I talked to some millennials during the election, and they kept telling me, we don't have a dog in this fight. You were wrong. I tried to explain to them about when Hubert Humphrey ran and what happened then, and how we needed one more vote per precinct, and we would have won that election.
Yeah.
But, you know, these people don't know the history, and so now we are doomed to repeat it.
Thank you, Carol.
A lot of what everybody is saying is that we need to think outside the box. You know, I look around this room, the diversity is not here, the young people aren't here, and we got to find a way to start from the bottom and move up. It's not just schools, it's every other event that they go to, it's, you know, whatever they're interested in, it's online, etc. And we're not going to get anywhere until we really reach out and somehow help them understand what's really best for them. Because clearly where we're at is not what's best for the majority of the people in this country. And why they're voting for someone that's not in their best interest is because they don't understand. And how we make that happen is really what we got to figure out. And we got to find a way to reach all of those people. And I think that's what this group really needs to think about, is how do we think outside the box? How do we really reach millennials? Diversity, I'm seeing diversity in this room, there's very few, which is a little disappointing for me. I'm in Cuyahoga County, you know, really, this is, you know, not the diversity of Cuyahoga County. So how do we do that? So I really hope that we can kind of come together and find a way to really do this, to really start from the bottom and work up and reach these people that this is what would be best for them, really. Let them understand healthcare and let them understand all these issues that really affect them.
Thank you.
So to answer her point, for the next meeting, we should all try to bring a millennial and a person of color along with us.
The recommendation is to bring a millennial and a
Person of color.
and a person of color. Yes. Yes, person of color.
First of all, Commissioner, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Okay. Secondly, you need to know that the African Americans in Cuyahoga County have been pushed to vote Democratic for years and to vote right. But they feel that they have been left out of the process. Our neighborhoods are deplorable, our streets are raggedy, and when you go south of Shaker Boulevard, the streets are terrible, and the community is terrible. So, and we've got to do something. I'm looking around this room, and I think I feel like the fly in the buttermilk, because there's just two of us here, okay?
Three.
Oh,
What the hell's wrong with you?
I'm sorry, three. She's lighter than me, okay, all right? But at the same time, we've got to do something to show that we are all inclusive. We just can't come take our votes, take our money, use our work and efforts, and then don't give us anything. Oh, and 74th and Euclid, I was wrong. It's 74th and Euclid.
74th and Euclid on tomorrow. John?
Two things, sir. I agree with you. But we've had an African-American mayor in this city for 3 years or 12 years. It's time to say goodbye to him, because he's useless, in my opinion.
Let's try to avoid that, John.
Wait, can I say something else? Okay?
One more word, please.
One more word, and that is this. If everyone in this room, starting Monday, would either call the Cuyahoga County Democratic offices or their local Democrat, if it's a precinct or whatever, and ask them and tell them you want to get involved.
Okay.
Okay, that's
Or turn around and tell Armin back there. Everybody knows Armin? The county executive. Armin, do you hear the message? Take it back. Jane Sheets. Two comments.
When I went to Democratic headquarters,
That's near the church. We'd have loved that.
the thing that made me notice it so intently, there were no Democratic elected officials there. None. The other thing is, Tim, I developed a program that I took to boy clubs, to pastors, groups. I developed a card which I'm going to give you.
it's on, you can tear it off like this, it says, check your family. Is everybody registered? Is everybody voting? And I did it at church one day, and the lady that I was talking to, her niece was there. And her niece said, I don't vote. And she said, you don't vote? They never had the conversation. And so I decided that this is valuable.
Perfect.
Stacks of them, give them.
Give them to me, we'll use them, obviously. There's a question upstairs.
As I look around this room, these are all people who have known you for years and who understand, but I guess my suggestion would be that at the convening level, so at your level, that there must be black leaders and others who could join you in being the conveners of this group, particularly if we become a PAC, because that we are here because you asked us to be here. And so if there's somebody sitting next to you that is a leader in the black community, and that message is coming from them, they're going to be here. So that's my suggestion.
Okay, let me be, this is our second meeting. And I think that's very legitimate. Here's the difficulty. I don't want to turn this into a forum for people to run for office. Because then we get into partisan primaries, etc. I'm glad to do it after a primary, wherever the nominee is and who articulates a view that we all would share. But if I start asking, unless I ask for people who were in political life to be a part of that, like I was, I think I can do that very well. I've got a great deal of friends who would be happy to be engaged with me in this kind of effort. This is our second meeting. To be honest with you, I didn't know who the hell was going to show up at this one. We had, look at it. You got to say to yourself, look, I'm saying this again I know I'm beating a dead horse, but I don't want to do this for therapy. I was involved for public life for 40 years. And I want to be with people that want to give a damn and make financial contributions and take their time and effort if they really want to change things. And to make the point to you and others, there was a time in this community when people did that. They got involved and they gave their money and they got engaged. I was there. I was a beneficiary of that. Donating, even in the worst times, in the worst campaigns against Taft or anyone else 15 years ago. People gave their money and their time and their effort, and I was grateful to share that with the people that took the time to do that. We need to rekindle that spirit that has been talked about, and we can do that, and we can be inclusive, and I'll make that effort for the next meeting. And at the next meeting, we're going to talk about health care, and we're also going to talk about continuing our efforts for this registration effort, to get people involved in registering to vote. Yes?
It's very easy to form a political action committee. You need a bank account and to fill out like 7 pages of paperwork. It's easy.
I have somebody working on that.
Okay.
Thank you. You want to work on it?
Sure. I live in Jaga County.
Huh?
I live in Jaga County. Can I still be part?
Maybe
Okay.
you and I can talk on the side then and have our own little Geauga County one too. No, we'll get somebody, I got somebody working on it, thank you. I got somebody that has a political action committee we can
pass
use.
a law that you're immediately registered to vote when you turn 18? Why are we waiting for people who have to go in and register?
You can pass a law, but nobody's gonna, you think that the state of Ohio is gonna allow that to go on the ballot?
Well, I think we ought to try to give that to them.
Well, fine, I don't have any objection to it.
Your driver's license or your state card.
Fine. I'm for voting by mail. But Oregon and Washington and other, you try to get the Republican leadership in Ohio to do that. They have moved in every effort to reduce the number of minorities and poor people to vote. Now, who the hell do you think they're kidding? That's talking about minorities so they don't vote for the Democratic Party. That's all. It's all this nonsense about you know, making sure that the voting is safe and that nobody's, it's outrageous what they have convinced people to think is going on. And it's insult, by the way, to the black community. That is pointed right at the black community, American citizens, and saying, you're less honest than all of us white people. It's a bunch of bull, and you ought to be outraged by it. And why am I saying that? Yesterday we had a St. Patrick's Day parade, didn't we? Who's Irish in the goddamn room? Put your hands up. Put them down. Your grandfather, your great-grandfather, your great-grandmother came to this country like mine. Mix, drunks, couldn't speak proper English. We're humiliated. Never forget where we came from. All of us in this room. My Italian mother, a Dago, a Wop. We know the words. Slovak, Slovenian. Every one of us bear the burden of people saying, you don't look like me. You don't talk like me. You don't have the same religion I have. That's not who we are. We ought to be outraged about what's going on in this country.
Amen.
We ought to get up every day and say to ourselves, what are we doing to do something to make a change? Now, we've had these suggestions. We're going to do it. We're going to get a political action committee next meeting. I'm going to have somebody come and speak on healthcare and the impact on every group. And by the way, one of the great things in my life is I worked for the county with some of my friends, not only as an elected official, but as somebody that worked there in 1971. And you know what I worked on? Meals on Wheels.
Wow.
And I remember starting that program and thinking to myself, oh, this is great, you know. And I remember going to the first meetings of it and also going to the houses. And I'm thinking to myself, they're going to cut $3 million out of the federal budget. So this SOB can go down to Florida for a weekend. Now let me tell you, it's so outrageous. It's so outrageous. If we put a face, your point, if we put a face on these cuts, and we say, hey, wait, these are our American, these are our friends, our family. These are people we care about. We have to motivate those people, and some of them voted for Trump. And we've got to make them understand this is the impact of those kind of votes. It's not some, hey, you know, he's telling the world, you know, the truth about it. I mean, it's the insanity of it all is beyond me, but that's happening. I don't want to go much further. Yes. Good, how are you?
I voted for George McGovern. That was my first election. Ever since then, I have been trying, but not very well, because family, work, so forth and so on. I am now a retired person. I got so mad about what happened at our Democratic thing, because I was a Bernie man person, shook his hand. But I took my friend and I went to CSU, or Cleveland, or Tri-C West, 3 times to sign people up to vote. We got so many ridiculous comments about why they weren't voting. Like, I don't want to be called to jury duty or something like that. But my friend and I, this is not going to seem like much, but we signed up 57 students. And if everyone in this room had signed up at least 50 people, do you realize how many more votes we would have had? You've got to educate the people, and voting is where it's happening. More people went shopping on Black Friday than they did vote. And that's pathetic.
Some of them got a better deal.
If you want to do
Some of them got a better deal.
phone, I mean, just phone. I don't like the phone. I don't like to go door to door. That's why I sat at a table. And I went over and I said to them, I didn't just sit there. Have you voted? Have you registered to vote yet? Well, no. Well, come on over here and we'll tell you why you should. We didn't just sit there. We tried to educate them. This was college students, people, and they had the weirdest excuses. So yes, the lady back there that said about education, that's where we need it. We need the education.
Colin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
know healthcare. I was a nurse for 53 years. I ran a healthcare facility. I don't know politics. I don't know, do you need people to call? Do you need people to mail things? How do you get started? Who do you call? I don't even know who really is this guy that's the head of the Democratic Party in Cuyahoga County. Where is that published? I think you could do a great service if you put on your Facebook page who to call. What, I called Sheriff Brown's office, the local office, and they said, no, you don't, this is not his campaign office. You have to call the office in Akron.
That's right.
I called the office in Akron, left a message, and I've never heard anything.
I'll make sure I get that message to him. I'll make sure I get that message to him. And you're absolutely right about what you're saying. And we'll do that. I'll start listening to that. But here's another thought for you. If we start organizing ourselves, we can do these phone calls. We can do the registration question. And let me underscore this again. First time ever that you can register now online. So part of these kids, my kids are millennial. The computer is their life. They don't have any. We need to address that and get people involved. Let me go back to this. You've got kids and grandkids in school, in high school. Go get them registered now if they're going to be 18 by October, and keep on that in next year and beyond. And if you have kids that get them as well. And get them engaged in it, because that's what you need to do. Those are the kinds of things you need to do. Did you have a comment? Go ahead.
Some of you won't like this. We haven't answered Plato's question, we don't know who should govern. Last year I started teaching college. A very good school. I'm not going to mention the name because it's true in all of them. 70% of the students cannot write a paragraph, and none of them read.
My God. My God.
And the other faculty members said, this is what you're going to find. The apple does not fall far from the tree. Turn off the goddamn TV and talk to your kids. I'm not a parent. I'm fortunate enough to have other people's children in my life. I know 5% of them who talk at the dinner table about what's important. Get off the TV, get off the video stuff, talk to the kids and find out what are you reading? I don't know. I don't want to deal with it.
Tim, I'll do some shirts for the next meeting to raise money for the political action thing. I'll private message you.
Okay.
Next meeting.
By the way, you have some shirts. By the way, I want to thank, where's Marta Negrelli? You're all wearing those buttons?
Yes.
I haven't asked you for money. Where is she? She paid for them. We should thank her for those buttons.
We had one.
Two? We got 3 black people and 3 young people. We're doing really well. That's good. Wait a minute, quiet please. Quiet.
You need to talk to young people on Twitter and bring them here.
Okay, why don't you two take that on? All right? You be a part of our group and you take it on. We'll meet afterwards, okay? Yes, ma'am.
I didn't come here just to vent. I could stay home and do that on Facebook, which I think we probably all do. I want to do something that I feel like we can accomplish something. So yes, I know you need money to form a PAC. I don't make a lot of money. I can only give so much. I want to know what I can do. What politician do we go after next? Do we go after Renacci? Do we go after Portman? It's too long. Do we go after the governors? What do we do? What race do we focus on? We can't focus
What
on
congressional district are you in?
with Renacci.
Pardon me?
Renacci.
There you are.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. Is that where you put your focus?
Here's what to do in that district. As somebody who has run and lost for Congress, I know a lot about this. You got to get engaged in that, and the point that was made was from a Democratic perspective in that congressional district. You got to find out who's engaged in that now and getting ready for that. But going back to this question, all you gotta do is identify, from a registration standpoint, that's a district that is heavily Republican. That's why he's there. And in order to beat him, you gotta get people out to vote and get them engaged in that process. I don't know that there's a candidate announced yet, is there? I don't think anybody's announced yet. There's a perfect example. By the way, talking about, you got somebody 45, 50 years old or even younger? Did you watch Joe Kennedy the other night? Any of you? Let me tell you something that I have always found a little offensive. My father was in public life as a county commissioner in Trumbull County, Ohio. And if he hadn't been in public life, my brothers, my sisters, serves in council out in Geneva, and I would not have been involved in public life. Because we watched our father, we were proud of our father, he wanted to make a difference. He taught all of us to do that. I sometimes resent this thing about families. If you're ticked off because somebody was related to somebody, go run for the damn office yourself then. Get involved in the, quit complaining about, oh, you know, so-and-so is related. Go run for the office. I get so sick of this complaints about, go get involved in the process. It's not easy, and you can be humiliated, and people will attack you, yes. That's all true. But there's a nobility. Public life and public service is an honorable profession. Never forget that in this country. Never forget it. People make sacrifices. People make sacrifices their whole life to make a difference in the lives of other human beings. Yes, nurses make one hell of a sacrifices. Yes, teachers make a hell of a sacrifice. A lot of people make sacrifices, but so do those who dedicate themselves to public service and public life. We need to honor that. It is being diminished clearly by this president and this attitude. But don't let that shape you into a sense of looking at all of it. This Joe Kennedy and others, Al Franken and others, Elizabeth Warren, everybody's, you got to give people some sense of saying they're going to make a difference and support them and be engaged in them. And I didn't mean to miss this. And Sherrod Brown. Sherrod Brown is making a difference. Yes.
We've got to bring back the disenfranchised kids who are mad because of Bernie, who are mad because of this or that, who are mad because of their student loans, or working 2 jobs to afford their rent or whatever. I have disenfranchised kids. I know that if the party makes an overture to them and somebody can prove that if they got involved, they would do it. They don't have a vested interest in the party.
I
That's a big
agree.
issue.
I'm going to shut this down in 2 minutes. Yes.
I think we should have like an easel with the committees listed up there, because people really want to get involved, and we could split the group up into smaller committees. I mean, that somebody who's in, Renichi's group, and somebody who work on Sharon Brown, we could really harness.
I like to do that, and I thought I would do that after, and do it on our page, and say who wants to sign up. And you know what? You can help me do that. You opened your mouth, now you're involved. Okay, let me, go ahead.
It should start with boycotting the Koch brother products. Go online, don't buy Angel toilet tissue or Sparkle paper towels. Stop.
I agree. Yeah. You want to stop, we're nickel dime artists here trying to have a political action committee. They're going to put billions of dollars in these races, like they did.
Costco's Kirkland paper towels, I looked it up before I wanted to buy it, is made by the Koch brothers. So I said, I am not buying it, so I spent $5 more and bought 5.
Okay, here's your deal. You get the list of that.
It's on the line.
Well, then get it over to me. You don't have to be so dismissive. And I'll put it on. All right. Okay.
You need a bigger room. There are a lot of people that were not allowed to come in because it was already full.
Oh, we need a bigger room. Should we be upset with that, or should we be thankful? Thankful. Yes.
There's a lot of great ideas brought up here. And
meeting we were at, I kept asking, what can you do to get involved? And I'm hearing the answer now. The reason why I bring this up is every Saturday morning I volunteer at St. Malachi feed the homeless. And I get a bunch of people every week, every day of the week going, I want to come down and help, I want to come down and help. The point is, talk is talk, and action is action. So, can we go in the back of the room and start the political action committee, or we have to wait till the next meeting?
You want to start the political action committee? We'll go in the back of the room. Fine. All those who want to be engaged in that kind of activity, fine. What I'm trying to do is do this in an orderly fashion, because I've been through this. I was chairman of the Democratic Party long ago. I want to activate people and get them involved in a constructive way. And I need your help, by the way, all of you in this room. I need you to be engaged in this and be helpful and volunteer to do these kind of things, as Marta did with all of these buttons. I need Gil's going to get maybe. There's a wonderful T-shirt coming out with our logo on it. Did you see that? Maybe that's what we do. You know, but more importantly, if I get this political action committee together, give up drinking a damn grande latte and get yourself a tall, and you save $1 a day. Am I asking too much? I mean, I hate to say it. Think about it. 365 days is $365 times 300, 400, 500 people. We make a difference. And by the way, one of the things I will suggest when we move on, if we've got some bucks, if we're going to put those damn billboard signs up in areas where people want to vote, we're going to make a statement. We got to do that. We got to have people engaged in that process. I don't want to bore you to death, so I'm going to take one more question, and then, by the way, everybody sitting there, you can order dinner if you're at the tables. You people in the middle, you're out of luck. No, there's tables downstairs as well. And so, if you want to sit or you want to have a beer, they're going to come in to serve after this is over. And there was one more point. Yes. I'm going to put it on. Are you on my Facebook page? I'm going to put it on there for different committees. Okay? We have a. Wait a minute. I just wanted. Someone's asked to make a few comments.
Hi. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Mark Olive, and I'm a national member of the media. Yes, I am the enemy. Tim will not do what I'm about to ask, so I'm asking for us. Okay, I'm going to pass a hat. Okay, and I think we all need to reach into our pockets, purses, and wallets, and give $1, give $5, whatever you could give, because he needs more than our help in showing up, writing postcards, and coming to meetings. Things like this cost money. Political action community costs money. So I'm asking you all, please, to donate. Thank you.
Jim, to that point, what about the next meeting, Jim? We all come in, we all pay $5 or $10 to come in.
All right, I'll think about announcing that. Here's the deal. Look at it. I got to get a bigger room.
Yes.
So, okay, I'm going to work on. By the way, if anybody's got any suggestions, I'm certainly glad to. But one of the things about these last two meetings, the people that own the establishments were happy to have us come, because they think some of us are going to eat. But more importantly, they were generous enough to call and say, Tim, if you need something. So we'll think about. I'll try to have within the next week another location, announce it. We'll announce the speaker on healthcare. We'll announce specifically some of the committees, and anybody that wants to give me a hand and help me, that's great. And don't forget tomorrow if you have the time to go at 3:30 to the event. Thank you all very much. Have a good evening.